Hey everybody, my name is Alex with Hake Hardware, and in this video we are going to install Armbian on a CM3588. I also refer to them as COMETs. I sell a version of this with a case and a few other add-ons, and I typically pre-install Armbian on all of these, but this is a guide if you purchase somewhere else or you want to reinstall the operating system. This will help you out. So we will get started. There is a guide on the Armbian website to prepare your SD card. So basically what we're going to be doing is we will be writing the operating system to the SD card and then moving the SD card over to our COMET, and then we will be installing the operating system from the SD card onto the integrated eMMC storage. So you do have to have an SD card. There are some requirements around this, like you're going to want it to be at least like 8 gigabytes, which I think you get those for like $5. And they recommend A1, but I've used some A2s. In fact, the one that I'm using right now is a 16 gigabyte. It doesn't even have an A on it. It just says 16 gigabyte and class 10. So just keep in mind, you can browse through here on how to prepare your SD card if you are having troubles. So we will move on to the next section here. Oh, one more quick thing. I do have some links here. They are like referral links for Amazon. These are two of the SD card readers that I use. I have both of these. I have a few drones, and I'm constantly transferring videos from micro SD cards to my computer, and I've had really good luck with these two. I ended up moving to this one recently, the USB-C one, but I had been using the SanDisk one for a while. So feel free if you need a USB to SD card reader so that you can transfer the files onto your SD card. These are really good options, and they're not too expensive. So one thing that I had to do with my SD card, because I've been using it a lot for my drones, is I had to actually wipe the SD card in Windows in order to get it to show up. So this is like a quick rundown of how to wipe your drive. And I'm actually going to do it because also after you create one of these drives to install Armbian, it won't show up on Windows anymore. So since I'm basically redoing the tutorial, I need to go through and clean this drive. Let me bring up my terminal for Windows. Okay, so we're going to do Diskpart, and I'll kind of put this up here so you can see the commands that I'll be running. But basically, the first thing you want to do is open up a terminal, type Diskpart, and for me, it opens up like another, basically this diskpart.exe. So it's another window that pops up. And then from here, the first command you're going to want to do is list disk. And this is going to show all of your disks. And you're going to want to make sure that you select the one that is your SD card. Because, warning, if you clean a disk with like one of these 465 gigabyte ones, all that data is going to be lost. So you're basically reformatting the card, and that's why we can get it to show up again in order to finish this guide. So just make sure you're choosing the right one. I know very obviously this 14 gigabyte one is my SD card, which is 16 gigabytes, but with the conversions, it ends up displaying as 14 gigabytes in Diskpart. And then once we know what disk it is, we'll select it. So select disk 5, and then simply write clean. So cleaning basically, I believe, removes like all the partitions and all the data and everything on there. And then now we need a partition in order for it to show up. So we'll do create partition primary, and we still have disk 5 selected. So as long as we don't select a different disk, we can just do create primary partition. And as soon as I did that, I can see that it popped up in my Windows Explorer, and I now can see it. So that's all we need to do for Diskpart. The disk is now ready. And the next thing we're going to do is use the SD card formatter. Now, I have a link to download this somewhere. Uh, yeah, you go to the SD Association. Oop, I didn't want to go to a different page here. Hold on. Open that in a new tab. You can go to the SD Association and you just scroll down to for Windows and then scroll down, accept. Oh, well, yeah, and then it's just, you can't see it, but it's downloading. I don't need to download it again. And it actually installs on your computer, and I've kept it installed because I use it all the time. So let's bring it up now, actually. I just need to share it. Okay. All right, here we go. So we have, again, I'll put it kind of up over here. We have the SD card formatter. It automatically finds my SD card. Make sure, again, that you're selecting the correct SD card. You can open up your Windows Explorer, go to this PC, and you'll see what drive letter it is. For me, it is the E drive, and I'm going to keep quick format, and also you can see the capacity. So it's a SDHC for the type, and it's 14.84 gigabytes. Again, that's 16. It's just with how they do the conversions. That's what it ends up showing. I'm going to not put anything for the volume label. Basically, just keep all the defaults and then click Format. And then there'll be a pop-up that says it's going to erase all the data. Make sure that's actually what you want to do. And then click Yes. You can see it going through and it's done. So there'll be another pop-up that says formatting was successfully completed. I'm just going to click OK. And we are now done with the SD card formatter. So our SD card is reset and ready to have, and this is the pop-ups, and I've got some screenshots here, kind of what it looks like. So the next thing we're going to want to do is actually download Armbian because we're going to write the OS to the SD card. So if we open up this link here, there's a page for the NanoPC CM3588 NAS, and this should look very similar to your CM3588 or COMET. And note that this is community maintained. So basically, it's not officially supported by the Armbian project, and the boards are maintained or not maintained by the community members. So there is no real expectation. They're generally untested. I believe a lot of these images are even just automatically created as part of like the build processes. So there's three options here: desktop, which is going to get you Ubuntu with GNOME, and then there's Debian 12 Bookworm, Minimal, and Debian 12 Bookworm with Open Media Vault. Now, I always do the minimal ones because I'm just running a headless browser. I'm not actually going to be installing like a desktop. I'm not going to hook a monitor up to it basically. So you can just click the Debian 12 Bookworm and it'll start downloading. It'll be like an image.xz file. If you want a desktop version, I think all of this works exactly the same if you're going to do the desktop versus doing just the minimal IoT. But once you have it downloaded, you're going to get the USB imager tool. And if you go to the link listed, come down here and I download the GDI version, which is just the native interface for Windows. If you have different operating systems, you can use the different ones listed here. And then open it up. So let me actually get mine. This is like a portable executable, so it doesn't look like you have to actually download it or install it onto your computer. It works just fine as portable and super basic, as you can see like up here in the top right. The first thing you're going to do is select your image. So I'm going to go into my downloads and I'm going to select my Armbian community from here, and then we're going to select your whatever your drive is. Mine is E, and then you're just going to click write. And the time is not exactly accurate. So it says like 7 minutes, but I've noticed that on average it takes about a minute. So this will probably drop significantly. And once this is done writing to the disk, what we're going to do is boot to the SD card. So really it should automatically boot to the SD card. And if you're using the CLI version, like you don't even have to have a monitor hooked up. It's going to, as long as you have it hooked up to your network. So I just have a network cable installed. All I have actually connected to my COMET is a network cable and the power cable. And it's going to automatically connect to the network, and I can just SSH directly into it with my SSH manager. Now, if you have a monitor hooked up and a keyboard and mouse, or I don't know if mouse is useful, at least for the CLI version, but if you have the desktop version, you should just be able to, yes, it only took a minute here, as you can see, but yeah, if you're bringing it up on a monitor, you can just do that. It should automatically boot from the SD card, which is the most important part. So I'm going to close this, and I didn't even need to eject it, the SD card. Basically, I'm just going to grab my USB stick, take my little, over here, take my little card out, and then try and get it into this COMET. Sometimes it's a pain because I have a case, and it's like, there we go. Just heard the click. All right. Okay, so I have it installed, and now let's have it boot to the operating system here. All right, I saw the red lights. We should be good, and it actually boots really fast. So you shouldn't need to wait too long, but typically a couple seconds here. Let's bring up Termius, and I think it's just going to be Comet Alpha. So we'll just see how that works here. Grab a sip of coffee. It might have gotten a new IP address, so it did, which is normal because no issue there. Start over. Okay, so so the login is going to be not the one that I have listed here. So it's going to be, what is it? Root 1234. So can I show this? Yeah. So root. Oh, I am in the way. Hello. Okay. Root and 1234 is going to be how you SSH into it. For me, the IP address is 192.168.69.10. It's going to be totally different for you. You're going to have to check your router, or just plug a monitor and keyboard into it, and you can go and check the IP address locally if you want to SSH into it. I'm going to click connect, and we are basically at the guided setup. So now that we've installed the operating system, it's still on the SD card. We need to get it over to the eMMC storage. So what we're going to do is create a root password. So I'm going to create my root password, and then we need to create a user. So it says please provide a username. I'm going to do Hake hardware, and then set up a password for your user. So the first password was for root. So now if you want to log in as root, you can use the password you set up here. And we're going to create a user and password that we're going to use basically to log in. And as you can see here, it says we're using an automated build meant only for developers. So yeah, it says especially don't use this image for production since things might not work as expected. Okay, I've used this a lot and it's worked as expected. But they put that there because it's an automated build and it might not work. So definitely, consider your options here if that's not something you want to accept. If you're using this for like very sensitive, important things, maybe don't use Armbian. There are, through Friendly Electric, they have guides to install Debian, but I have loved Armbian so much more, and I'm going to continue. So provide your real name. It's just going to be Hake Hardware again. Okay, detected my time zone. That's good. Yes, select a language based on that. It's going to be 2 or 3? No, 2. Generating the locales. Okay, we are in. We're at a cool 42 degrees Celsius. Let me get this a little bit bigger. All right, so we've got Debian stable support for advanced users, rolling releases. You can see my LAN and WAN addresses here. And that is it. The next, what we can do is actually get this installed. So if we jump back into Firefox here, need to bring it up myself. We're going to first do apt update and apt upgrade to make sure we have the latest packages. And then we're going to do Armbian install to actually install this to our eMMC. And we're going to select the option to boot from the eMMC NAND and install the system on the eMMC NAND. So let's jump back. All right, so we're already logged in as root, so I don't need to put sudo. Up, let's see, we want update and apt upgrade -y. Just let that do its thing here for a minute. Shouldn't take too long. Get a sip of coffee here. Okay, it says 17 minutes for this firmware here. So maybe, I'll bring you back when this has finished downloading because that's pretty slow. So yeah, I will see you when this is done downloading. All right, we are back. Everything has been installed. It did take a little while, probably because I'm on the SD card still, but we do want to make sure we do all those updates before we run the next command, which is going to be Armbian install. And we are going to choose the option for boot from eMMC and install the system on the eMMC. So this will mean we don't need the SD card at all. Just click yes at this point to continue. We're going to use ext4, and then it will format the eMMC, install the operating system, and then we'll be good to go. So I don't know. I think I remember this taking like 5 minutes, maybe. If it starts to take too long, I'll pause the video here. But I think if I remember correctly, it goes pretty quick. And here we go. So we are good to go. We are back in Armbian and we've got everything set to go. So I'll do sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade -y. We shouldn't really have anything to do here. But yeah, we're good to go. Okay, so everything at this point is installed. Let me just check my notes. Yeah. Overall, pretty easy. We're now booting off the eMMC. So if I do df-h, we can see that we have this MMC block 0p1 using 52 gigs here, and it's 3% full. So we got plenty of space to play around with. You can use an SD card if you want to use it as like a storage device, but just keep in mind that SD cards, they wear pretty quickly. So if you're doing lots of read and writes, you're gonna not really want to do that. You have 4 M.2 slots, so you might as well throw an NVMe in there. But yeah, that is how to install Armbian. If you have the ability, the Armbian project is pretty darn cool. I have a link here to the Armbian website and basically how you can help out if you have any ability to do so. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.